What's up? I am Will, and I'm going to explain conditionals. Let's hop into it. What's a conditional? They allow you to make decisions in your programs. The way they work is you give them an expression that evaluates to a Boolean value, and if that value is true, then it will execute the code block that you've specified. The way you should think about them is if A, then do this. In other words, if true, then run this code. I'll cover two statements today, if and else. Let's start by diving into the basics of conditionals with the if statement. I have the docs pulled up because I want you to get in the habit of consulting the documentation because it is the best resource. According to the documentation, the if-else statement executes a statement if a specified condition is truthy. We won't get into truthiness or falsiness in this video, but for now, think of this as true. Let's demonstrate how this works. First, I'm going to start with an expression, something that I know to be true. 5 is greater than 4. Notice this evaluates to true. Well, the way that if statements work is if this is true, then I can have it do something. Let's show that off. So we'll say if 5 is greater than 4, notice the new syntax, parentheses. You have to wrap your condition in parentheses as specified by the docs here under syntax. If parentheses condition, then we can give it a statement to execute. Let's execute that statement. Console log 5 is greater than 4. I'll spell it out. When I execute this, I should get a message printed to the console that says 5 is greater than 4. And that's exactly what we get. Let's take a step back and ask, why did we get this? The semantics of an if statement are such that if the condition evaluates to true, then the statement given is going to be executed. The flip side of that is if this is false, this statement will not be executed. Let's show that off. Let's flip the greater than to less than. This will make the expression false. Notice that we don't get the message printed to the console. 5 is greater than 4 printed before when this was true, but now it didn't print. The reason behind that is this evaluated to false. Therefore, the JavaScript interpreter skipped this statement. Let's introduce some more syntax. I'm going to wrap my statement in curly braces to create a block. This is equivalent to the previous statement. However, curly braces allow you to execute more than one statement, like so. I'm going to say 4 is less than 5. Notice that it didn't execute, and that's because my expression here is false. Let's make it true so that it will execute. Now we get two messages printed to the screen. In general, I recommend you always use curly braces because you may want to add additional statements. Although, just keep in mind, they are optional. There is another statement that pairs only with an if statement, the else statement, like so. Else works by pairing up with an if such that if the expression given in the conditional is false, the else block will be executed. Let's demonstrate that. So I'm going to remove this line and place it here. Let's also do a little bit of formatting. So this reads, if 5 is greater than 4, we're going to print out 5 is greater than 4. Otherwise, print out 4 is less than 5. See how that works? The if statement only executes if the condition given is true. The else statement only executes if the given condition is false. Well, that given condition belongs to the if, so they always have to be together. They pair together. Let's execute this and see what happens. We get back 5 is greater than 4. That's because 5 is greater than 4. But let's make this less than. Now we should get 4 is less than 5 printed to the console. And as you can see, we get 4 is less than 5 in the console. So these go together. I'm going to reformat this a little bit. Executes if true. And I'm also going to reformat this to use curly braces because you can use curly braces and an else statement as well. So the way that you can read this is, if the specified condition is true, execute this statement. We're going to call this A, execute A. Otherwise, execute statement B, the else block. The else is always optional. You don't have to specify it. However, there are certain cases where you'll want to specify it based on the logic you're trying to implement in your program. For our first example, let's create a small program that will tell me whether or not a name is long or short. If your name has more than 6 letters, I'm going to say it's long. Otherwise, you have a short name. Let's create a variable for my name. Let name equal William. And I want to know whether or not I have a long or a short name. Let's also create a read-only variable for what I consider to be a long name. So, or the number of characters, or we'll say letters in long name. And I'll say num letters. I'm going to assign the value 6 to that. If, parentheses, remember, it's part of the if statement syntax. If the condition, so I want to know if my name is long. Well, name happens to have a property on it called length. Let's pull that up. This will tell me how many characters are in my name. I actually want to show that off right quick before I do this if statement. Let's see how many characters are in my name. Name.length. And if I execute this, we get back 7. So this is what we're going to use to validate if my logic is correct. Let's wrap this in a conditional. If, remember, we need to use parentheses. If the length of my name is greater than the num letters in a long name, then you have a long name. Otherwise, if it's false, print to the console, your name isn't long. Well, that long. How about that? Let's execute this. Uh-oh, I forgot that I needed to comment this out. This is interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why that second one failed, but it works this time. As you see, I got back, you've got a long name. If you remember back to the length of my name, it's 7 characters. And because I've arbitrarily defined a long name to be a name that has over 6 letters in it, we get back, you've got a long name, because 7 is in fact greater than 6. See how that works? Now, the added complexity with dealing with if statements isn't really the if statements themselves. It's more of the expressions, because remember, expressions can be composed, they can be combined with other expressions using operators. So let's ask the question. So let's be a little bit more precise in our definition of a long name. As you'll notice, I only have 5 unique letters in my name: W, I, L, A, and M. Let's update my condition to take that into account. We're going to ask the question, how many unique letters do I have in my name? To demonstrate this, I'm going to start from scratch because I want to get rid of this state. And I'm going to use some things that I haven't introduced yet, but don't worry, I will talk about these things in subsequent videos. For now, just follow along. Let's delete all of this and refresh my state. I'm going to create a read-only variable for my name. Again, I'm going to put William in it. Now I want to know the unique letters in my name. So we'll do const distinct letters in name. And I can use a set to do this. So we'll say set, new set. I'm going to insert my name into the set. Now, as you can see, we get all of the unique letters in my name. Remember, W, I, L, A, and M. This set only contains 5 characters. So using my new definition of a long name, my name will be short because it only makes use of 5 characters. So let's make this condition. I forgot to add my constant, my arbitrary determination of what makes a long name. So we'll say num letters in long name is equal to 7. We're going to keep it at 7 or 6. I'm sorry. We're going to use 6. And I'm going to use this variable here. So we'll use num letters and long name. And this time I'm not going to use the curly braces just to show that it'll work without curly braces. So I'll write to the console, your name is short. Oops, that's not short. Your name is long. Your name is long by my standards. Else, we'll write your name is too long. And let's make this a little bit more let's make this formatted better, right? All right. So when I run this program, I should get back your name. Oops, I just realized your name is not long at all. Sorry, I forgot what I was doing. We're going to say your name is short. So when I execute this program, what I should get back is your name is short printed to the console. And instead I get a syntax error. Let's fix that. I get another syntax error. Let's for real fix that. We're going to put a semicolon there and a semicolon here. And it still doesn't work. Okay. Okay. This is me forgetting that I am working in DevTools and I have to comment out my declarations here because remember, these are constants. I can't redeclare these. They already exist. So now we should get back. Okay. I don't. Num letters and long name is not defined. And I think that's because I haven't defined it yet. So what you're noting, I'm not going to take this out because I think it's important that you understand that programming is about making mistakes, right? You're going to make mistakes. So now we get your name is short after a little bit of debugging. If you are a little bit confused what I did or why this was failing before, well, let's read the message. So we get first uncalled syntax error, keyword else. The reason behind that is I'm not using curly braces. So I need to make sure that I tell JavaScript that I've ended my statement here. There. We can also do that. That will also have done the same thing. But I use a semicolon to tell JavaScript, hey, I'm done with my if statement. Let's move on to the next one. Uncaught syntax error, redeclaration of const name. Well, that happens because I had already ran this and you can't redeclare a constant or a variable once it's been declared. So the way I fix that is I commented it out. The third error, uncaught reference error, num letters and long name is not defined. Well, that's because I commented this out without having actually executed it first. So I uncommented it out. Now that I've ran this, I have to uncomment this out so that it will continue to work. Well, never mind. There we go. So now it'll continue to work because I've defined these variables. Okay, so this is a simple if statement. Let's revisit the syntax for an if statement. We have the keyword if, and then our condition inside of parentheses, followed by a statement. Well, I've been calling these conditionals if statements. That implies that a statement can also be this if condition, this if statement. Let's see what that looks like. We're going to say if 3 is greater than 4, console log, we're just going to say true. Now, you'll see here that we don't get back a true because 3 is in fact less than 4. So let's change this so that we actually get true. Remember, this right here is my statement. I can put this statement here again and change the expression a little bit. So I can say if 3 is less than or equal to 8, 7, we get back true. Let's make it so that we don't get back anything. If 0 is greater than 3 or 4, how about that? Notice we don't get back anything. We can nest these as many times as we want. Right now it's not formatted, so it doesn't look like it's nested. But let's do this. Now, if we can do this, I can put an else here if I like. So let's put an else. First, we'll put the statement, and then we'll do else. All right, we get back true. And if I want this to be false, I can change this to a 2, and we get back false, the else statement. What if I wanted to pass an if as my statement to the else? I can do that, like so. If 3, let's do 3 mod 2, I don't know. This is modulus, remember the remainder. So we'll say if this is greater than 0, then we want to write out, I don't know. Let's just write out there's a remainder. We get back there's a remainder because if we evaluate this expression, 3 is not less than 2. So this evaluates to false, which means we go into this else block here. And then we're going to only write to the console if there is a remainder of dividing 3 by 2, which there is. If I want nothing to happen, which I'm going to do just that, I'm going to set this to 4. And we get back nothing. So we have an else block, but we can, inside of the else block, do more if statements to do more things. Let's use some curly braces to drive home a point here, just so that we're very clear how this is being grouped. And I'm also going to add a curly brace here. This is why I recommend just using curly braces. It will, if you ever need to change anything, it's a lot easier. It's a little bit easier to reason about. And you should optimize for readability over cleverness. All right, so we get back if this condition, do these statements inside of the block. Else, do all of these statements that are inside of the block. We can do more things here. So like I can put as many ifs as I want here. I can say if 4 times 3 is greater than 4. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like the expression here doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is that we can put as many statements as we want in this block, including if statements. Even if we don't have these curly braces, you can still do just that. And that brings me to something that you're likely to see in your programming journey. This right here. We'll say else if 3 mod 2 is greater than that. And then we can put our curly braces for what we want to do. So I'll just say statements. And we can just keep doing this, So I'll say condition this time, and then statements. And finally, I can do my last else. All right. Notice that this looks like something that if you've ever tried to learn how to program, this may look familiar because you've seen something like this in other languages, elif or else if. Note that there is no else if syntax in JavaScript. However, you can write it with space between else and if. So we get if x is greater than 50, do something. Else if x is greater than 5, do something. Else, do something. Whenever you see else if, what you should think is else, curly brace. The statement that I want to happen is the if x greater than 5, right? So you can nest them, essentially. You're likely to see this all of the time. So just keep in mind how if statements truly work. To summarize, if statements enable you to make decisions in your programs. They work by executing a given statement whenever the condition is true. Also, you can pair else statements to execute alternate statements when the condition provided to your if statement is false. If statements can be nested inside of other statements, and there are no if-else statements, but this can be simulated. I hope you learned something. Please like and subscribe for more. See you next time.